Hello there, Surfm17 once again. This is my Star Fox Zero walkthrough. This is the first mission of the game. It is Corneria. Enter Star Fox. I will be getting a gold ranking on it, which gets you a medal, and my score will be of 312 hits. The more perceptive of my viewers, who've been with me for some time, will notice that I sound a little bit off. My apologies, guys, for anybody listening to this. I am ill, but I have to eat, so alas, I have to make my videos, and I don't need any sympathy, guys. I'll get better, and we'll just forge forward as usual. But this is Star Fox, and there are a couple of things you need to know when playing this game if you're going to be running for score, and that is pretty much how the scoring system works. So, you get hits by destroying enemies, but one of the things that the game doesn't really explain, or I haven't found it if it can, but I remember it from playing the old Star Fox games, is if you hit a lock-on shot, it will do a radius blast, and the more enemies that are killed in that blast after it detonates, the more additional hits you'll receive. So the scoring becomes kind of an intricate ballet of finding situations where enemies line up and trying to get big multi-kills with the charged shot. And I'm not very good at doing it. I wasn't going to score on this game, but there's no traditional difficulty so far that I've found. So the most interesting thing I could think of was to potentially go for score. So you'll notice I'm taking quite a lot of hits here. And normally in a game, I would try not to take damage unless I had to. But in this game, it doesn't really matter. There's an abundance of life, and there are only a few levels that are actually challenging as far as staying alive and survivability. In these missions, I will prioritize getting the shot I want over taking hits, because it doesn't really affect you too much. And you're not going to do this on your first attempt, guys. I did very few of these missions with the best score on my first attempt, because you need to have an understanding of where there are triple enemies, where there are enemies like synchronizing up, and this walkthrough is not going to show you the most optimized best score, because I'm just not very good at the game. But it is going to show you a nice approach on, you know, leading those charge shots, and an interesting path through the level where you can get quite a few multi-kills, as I'm doing right now. And there is indeed a secret route here, once you transform into the walker. If you trip that red panel on my right, you can go into the mountainside, which is quite interesting. It leads to one of the shittest bosses in the game. It's the most miserable fight I've fought all year, and I absolutely despise it, but you can do it if you want to, and it's one of the many secrets that this game has to offer. But coming through this canyon, there's going to be a lot of 3 enemies in a row, so you want to try and get them all sequenced up together. We're going to talk about the aiming and some of the issues that I have with the game, but one thing that you might notice, I don't know if you felt it, I know I have, is when I'm trying to lock on to certain enemies, the game will lock on to different ones, and this can lead to a lot of frustrations. I think it is because of the difference between the synchronicity of the game on the television and the game on your pad. Because where my reticle is on the TV is not one-to-one where it is on the gamepad at all times. It has a desync issue, and you can be using your TV as a frame of reference, and you'll notice that your lasers aren't going where your aimer is, and it's kind of bad in a lot of ways. But we're going to talk more about that, so just be aware that the gamepad is forced universally on you, even if you change it to the option where it only works when you hold the trigger or when you're shooting, which is what I personally change the controls to. Motion controls only come into effect when I charge my gun or when I fire the trigger. So for this sequence here, you have to kill 10 enemies quickly. If the number at the top of the screen goes red and you haven't got 10, you will not do the requirement. Something worth knowing though is you don't have to meet a lot of these requirements as long as you compensate with your scoring. But what it usually is going to signify is that an additional fight's going to take place, and it's an opportunity to get extra hits. Because to get the gold on this level, I believe you have to get 300 hits, and I only pass it by 12, which is pretty tight, and you're going to find that a lot of these scores are pretty tight. Some of them, not so much. I haven't been able to get the scores on the final level or on the Corneria return, because this level on the return, you have to get 370, and the highest I've got is like 320, and I have no idea how I can do it any better, because the start is so heavy on scoring, it's amazing. But then the final 2 phases, I cannot activate the secret mission there, and then the boss, I just can't get any hits on him, so you might not see golds on those ones. But this is introducing you to the move aimer reticle by using your controller. And it's a very controversial aspect of Star Fox because it shouldn't exist. I'm happy that it does from a perspective of I want people to use this technology, and I do think that there is a lot of things that can be done. I think we failed the technology, I really do, because I think it's great, and when you're using your TV to navigate and you're using the controller to get that precise aiming in the dogfights, there's something to be said about switching between the screens as if you're in a cockpit or as if you're controlling the robot yourself. And I definitely think there's something there, but I just don't think we've been creative enough with it, and I don't think we've engineered an environment where it works as well as it could have. So in a lot of ways, I think the dual screen setup and the uses of it could be potentially amazing. We just haven't had the people who could make it as good as it needs to be. Outside, of course, a couple of instances in other titles where it's worked really well. So it's going to be really easy to shit on the controls of this game, and I'm going to, guys, because I fucking hate them. I'm not going to lie. I absolutely do not understand why they've done it to this game. I'm a massive fan of Star Fox on the SNES, or the NES was it? I forget. I was a big fan of Lilac Wars on the N64. I played all the Rogue Squadron games, which are very similar kind of, shooting games, on the N64 and GameCube. I've played these games a lot. I understand the concept of moving my ship to shoot, and I cannot get away from the overwhelming statement that the aerial mission in Bayonetta 2 is better than this game. And that gives me no comfort to say that, because I really like the series and I've been waiting a long time to play a new one, and I really like Platinum, but I can't help feeling that this game has more problems than it does pros, and we're going to definitely go into it, but I don't want this to come across as me just condemning the game. There is quality here and there's some interesting moments. This is going to be completely lost on you right now because I'm not even using the TV to do what I'm doing here. So do you notice how the camera has gone into a fixed state of almost like the cinematic driving in GTA? I'm not using the TV to navigate, I'm using the controller. On the controller it's first person view, and I'm essentially playing like fucking, what was it, Tunnel B1 on the PS1? I am playing a first person shooter right now, and I'm flying around and I'm destroying the turrets on the underside of this vehicle. Once I destroy all the turrets to get those extra hits, I'm going to destroy them on the top side. And you can't really see what I'm doing because of the nature of how this game works. To kill the boss, you can either destroy all of the satellites that are shooting at us, or you can go inside of it and destroy its core. This game has a system much like it did before, I think anyway, where you can get mission complete and you can get mission accomplished, and there are secret objectives to adhere to get the better ending. And this can often lead to alternate paths, better rewards, and things of that nature. I think this boss right now, outside of, the awkwardness of you watching it because you're not getting the full experience, is a great example of this mechanic working. It is the symbiosis between screen and TV, using both of them to get a result, and I think it's really interesting. We're back to the traditional controls now, as you can see, and then when you go inside, as I make a balls up of my turning, it's going to go into this boss lock-on sequence. So when you hold the left trigger, you go into this lock-on state, and what happens is it fixes the camera sometimes. Other times it doesn't. And it enables us to move a little better in this vehicle, because this vehicle does not control the best. The R-Wing controls the best by far. This thing controls probably second best, and then you have the gyroscope, which I think is one of the worst parts of the game. I would remove it. I think it adds nothing. All it does is frustrate and obfuscate, and those are two things I do not need. But if you kill that boss quick enough, you will get 10 hits as a bonus for doing so. And then you can check your rewards at the end, and hopefully you've got over 300 hits. If all of your team survives with high health, they can have 10 hits each. I believe that's how that works. The lower their life, the less hits you get. Hopefully you get the bonus, and then you can get the gold score. So that was it, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck with the scores if that's what you're aiming for, and welcome to my walkthrough.